It's 6 p.m. Cairo local time, and it's time for the English news bulletin on Channel 2. This is Sahar Talawi, starting up with the main headlines of the day. Prime Minister Madbouli delivers Egypt's speech before 9th Tokyo International Conference for African Development. Hamas accepts an Arab ceasefire proposal on Gaza as Palestinian death toll passes the 62,000. And the Russian bombardments Ukrainian city hours after Washington summit. Welcome back to the news in full. On behalf of the President Sisi, Prime Minister Dr. Mustafa Madbouli will deliver Egypt's speech before the 9th Tokyo International Conference for the African Development TICAD 9 in the Japanese city of Yokohama. Madbouli will participate in the inaugural session of the three-day conference, which begins on Wednesday. And on addressing this, PM Madbouli asserted that the Egyptian government exert the utmost effort to encourage the foreign investors to hold more investments in Egypt through providing a package of the financial and the customs and tax intensives, along with integrated infrastructure and fully digitalized service through its one-stop shop system. And for his part, the Japanese Prime Minister announced a plan to facilitate the trade and investment for Japanese companies operating in the African, adding that Japan plans to use its development assistance program to strengthen the logistics network and connecting Africa to the border region. And meanwhile, Prime Minister Dr. Mustafa Madbouli participation in the Egyptian-Japanese Forum came in light of his participation on behalf of President Sisi on the 9th Tokyo International Conference for African Development TICAD 9 and on the sidelines of his participation in the Egyptian-Japanese Forum. Prime Minister Mustafa Madbouli said that Cairo and Tokyo cemented their growing partnership by signing the 12 agreements and letters of intent spanning education, energy, industry, and tourism. The high-level gathering brought together leading the companies and institutions from both nations to unlock new investment opportunities and reinforce the collaboration in key sectors. And also, Prime Minister Dr. Mustafa Madbouli reaffirmed the strength of Egypt-Japan relations, praising the historic ties of both governmental and the popular levels and expressing his intent to expand the cooperation in various sectors. The remarks came during a meeting on Tuesday with Japanese Minister of State of Economy, Trade and Industry, Kojo Yoshiro. The meeting was attended by the Minister of Planning and the Economic Development and International Cooperation, Rania Al-Mashar, Education Minister Muhammad Abdul Latif, as well as a number of senior officials. And the Prime Minister convened the President Sisi appreciation for the strong ties between Cairo and Tokyo. And for his part, also the Japanese minister asserted Tokyo's interest in strengthening the cooperation with Cairo in various sectors and reinforcing Japan's role as a reliable partner for Egypt. And he also noted the several areas for joint cooperation with the particular focus on education, describing it as a key of tribal development and progress. And the Foreign Minister Badr Abdelghati received a phone call from his Netherlands counterpart Casper Veldkamp, where they discussed means of boosting the bilateral ties and exchanging the views over the situation in Gaza. And during the call, he asserted the importance to provide the security for the diplomatic mission in the Netherlands, adding that Netherlands is responsible under international law for protecting the mission from any violations. Abdelghati also pointed out to the incident at the Egyptian embassy in the Netherlands, saying that the Netherlands authorities are responsible for preventing a recurrence. And for his part, the Netherlands foreign minister expressed the regret over the incident at the gates of the Egyptian embassy in The Hague. He said also that he contacted the concerned security authorities, who had said would intensify the security measures outside the embassy in line with the responsibility of the host country as stipulated in international treaties. And he said also that with Cairo, the ties are built on the reciprocal respect and the mutual interest, expressing the willingness to cement the ties for the various fields, especially economic and trade and investment ties. The two sides also discussed developments in the Middle East, especially the catastrophic situation in Gaza. Abdulati also reviewed efforts to reach a ceasefire in Gaza, securing the unconditional entry of humanitarian aid into the enclave and release of hostages on both sides. And to Gaza, where the humanitarian aid trucks entered Gaza from Egypt through the Rafah border crossing. The trucks under the Zad al-Izza convoy get inspected by the Israeli occupation authorities before entering Gaza. The trucks carry food essentials, including the sugar, oil, legumes, and baby formula, wheat and rice, beside the medical supplies and the personal care products from the Egyptian Red Crescent. And the mediator Qatar said on Tuesday that a Gaza truce proposal given the green light by Hamas was almost identical to an earlier version that Israel had agreed to. Qatar Foreign Minister spokesman Majid Al-Ansari said that Hamas gave a very positive response, and it's truly almost identical to what they said. Qatar with Egypt and the U.S. has been engaged in mediation for a ceasefire throughout the 22-month war in Gaza, but apart from the two short-lived truces, the talks have failed to stop the fighting. And to Gaza, also Gaza's Civil Defense Agency also reported that 31 people were killed Tuesday by Israeli occupation strikes and fire across the territory. Agency spokesman Mahmoud Bassail said the situation was very dangerous and unreliable in the Zaytoun and Sabara neighborhood of Gaza City, where he said that the artillery shelling continues intensely. According to Gaza health officials, the tanks completed taking the control of the Zaytoun suburb and eastern neighborhood of Gaza's city and outskirts, and continue to pound the nearby area of the Sabra, killing 2 women and a man. And the local health authorities said that dozens of people had been trapped in their houses because of the shelling. And according to the figures from the health ministry in Gaza, Israel occupation war on Gaza has killed at least 62,064 Palestinians, most of them civilians. United Nations. And the UN Human Rights Office Tuesday said Israel occupation forces is letting some supplies into the Gaza Strip, but not enough to avert the widespread of the starvation. UN Human Rights Office spokesperson said that in the past few weeks, Israel authorities have only allowed aid to enter the quantities that remain for below what would be required to avert the widespread starvation. And he added also that the risk of the starvation in Gaza was a direct result of the Israeli government policy of blocking the humanitarian aid. And the UN Security Council began to debate on a resolution drafted by France to extend the UN peacekeeping force in South Lebanon for a year, with the ultimate aim to withdraw it. The Israeli aid and the US have reportedly opposed the renewal of the force's mandate. A US State Department spokesman said that there is no comment on ongoing UN Security Council negotiations as talks continued on the fate of the UN interim Lebanon. UNIFL deployed since 1978 to separate Lebanon. And under the truce, Israelis were to completely withdraw from Lebanon, but they have reneged on the deal, keeping forces in several areas and continue to administer strikes across Lebanon. And to Russia, where the Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov said on Tuesday that it was clear that on Friday's U.S.-Russia-Alaska summit that U.S. President Donald Trump and his team sincerely wanted to achieve a long-term and sustainable peace in Ukraine. And Lavrov said that the atmosphere at the Putin-Trump summit was very good, adding that it was clear that the head of the United States and his team firstly sincerely want to achieve a result that will be long-term, sustainable and reliable. Lavrov contrasted what he said was the constructive U.S. position to the Europe, some of whom leaders took part in the extraordinary summit of the White House on Monday with the Trump and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky to discuss Ukraine. Lavrov said also that Europeans had insisted to every turn only a ceasefire and that after that would continue to supply weapons to Ukraine. And also still with Russia, where Russia struck the central Ukrainian city of the Kramchunk overnight, leaving a thick column of the smoke hovering over the city in an attack that the local mayor called sign that Russian President Vladimir Putin does not want peace. And Moscow launched 270 drones and 10 missiles, the Ukrainian Air Force said, although it said it had downed 230 of the drones as 16 sites were struck. The governor of Poltava region, where the Kramchunk is located, said that there were no casualties, but nearly 1,500 households were left without electricity. The energy ministry said that energy facilities were hit in the attack, resulting in damage and a large fire. Russian officials also said that Ukraine drone attack overnight caused fire at an oil refinery and hospital roof in the Volgograd region. And to North Korea, leader Kim Jong-un said his country needed to rapidly expand its nuclear armament and called U.S.-South Korea military exercises an obvious expression of their will to provoke the war. Details follow.
North Korean leader Kim Jong-un said his country needed to rapidly expand its nuclear armament and called U.S.-South Korea military exercises an obvious expression of their will to provoke war. South Korea and its ally, the U.S., kicked off joint military drills this week, including testing an upgraded response to heightened North Korean nuclear threats. Pyongyang regularly criticizes such drills as rehearsals for invasion and sometimes responds with weapons tests, but Seoul and Washington say they are purely defensive. The 11-day annual exercises called Ulchi Freedom Shield will be on a similar scale to 2024, but adjusted by rescheduling 20 out of 40 field training events to September. Those delays come as South Korean President Lee Jae-myung says he wants to ease tensions with North Korea, though analysts are skeptical about Pyongyang's response. He said the security environment required the North to rapidly expand its nuclear armament, noting that recent U.S.-South Korea exercises involved a nuclear element. Efforts by the U.S. and its allies to tackle North Korea's development of nuclear weapons are expected to be discussed at an upcoming meeting between U.S. President Donald Trump and South Korean President Lee Jae-myung in Washington. North Korea plans to build a third 5,000-ton Choeyon-class destroyer by October next year and is testing cruise and anti-air missiles for those warships.
Welcome back, and now with the business sector, the Minister of Communication and Engineer Tamr Talat and his Jordanian counterpart witnessed via video conference the landing process of the high-capacity submarine cable coral bridge at the Al Aqaba Digital City Data Center. And the landing process has been successful 2 days ago in Tauba, Egypt, operated by the Egyptian telecommunications company. According to the Ministry of Communication statement, this is the first direction marine cable between Egypt and Jordan in 25 years. And it is considered a high-capacity direct digital linkage that collects the transfers the high-capacity international data to meet the growing demand for the artificial intelligence applications. And to Egypt's stock market indices went up at the close on Tuesday, affected by purchasing operations by the local corporations, while the foreign corporations as well, the Arab and the foreign investors, went into selling operations. And the benchmark EGX 30 index went down by 0.4% to the end the dealings at 3,580.24 points, and the equal weighted index AGX 70 rose by 0.07%, adding 10,767 points, while the more expanded EGX 100 also edged up by about 0.65%. By this, we come to the end of our news bulletin on Channel 2. Thank you for watching, and this is Sahar Talawi.